Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be talking about a new Netflix film, Mank. Before we begin, let me know in the comments if you were looking forward to this or what your thoughts are if you've seen it already. And make sure to give this a thumbs up if you like these reviews. It helps me out immensely if you do that. Also, if you're new here and you like movies, please consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with reviews of new releases and some classics. But now, let's jump right into it. This stars Gary Oldman as Herman J Mankiewicz and chronicles his process of writing the film Citizen Kane. We see his clashes with Orson Welles, his struggles with alcoholism, and his contentious relationship with the man who was the inspiration for Citizen Kane, William Randolph Hearst, played by Charles Dance. As he attempts to woo Hearst's partner Marion, played by Amanda Seyfried, Mankiewicz also has to deal with the very heated, tense political backdrop of the 1930s. This is directed by David Fincher, with it being his first film in 6 years since Gone Girl, and it's written by his late father Jack back in the 90s. This actually became something of a passion project for Fincher, as he originally wanted to make this after The Game in 1997, but he was turned down at the time because of his insistence on shooting this in black and white. And let's start with that actually. While Fincher has strayed before from his usual territory of these tense, almost grimy thrillers, this is by far the most un-Fincher-like film he's made. Even if you're a huge fan of Fincher's work and he's one of your favorite directors of all time, there's a good chance this will throw you off. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to be thrown off by this movie. On a technical level, it's absolutely stunning. It's filmed to recreate the look and feel of a movie from the 1930s and 40s. As I mentioned, it's filmed entirely in black and white. The sound mixing has this grainy feel to it. The score from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross draws from the popular styles of music from that time period. There are scenes where the backgrounds are clearly on a set as opposed to being on location. And it even has that little projection marker in the upper right-hand corner that he even points out in Fight Club. Even the way these actors carry themselves, this is not a typical performance from any of them. The way they move, the way they speak with this very snappy, fast-talking dialogue, they give off the feel like they're speaking in a 1930s movie. If you were to show this to someone who had no clue who any of these actors are, there's a chance you might be able to convince them that this is actually a film from that time period. And when it comes to all these performances, they're all great. Gary Oldman, as usual, is fantastic. He has this very theatrical presence to him. Mank is seen drunk for like half the movie and goes on these tirades. He always has this quip ready to go. He's very loud. It's Gary Oldman going big and bold as he always does, and he's phenomenal. Amanda Seyfried, meanwhile, is barely recognizable as Marion. She also has a lot of moments of very snappy dialogue, and she'll talk very quickly like a typical star of that time period. She gives such a committed performance that I almost forgot it was her at times, to be honest. She crushes it here, as do Lily Collins as Herman's secretary, Arliss Howard as MGM founder Louis B. Mayer, and Charles Dance as Hearst. All of them nail the look, feel, and delivery of everyone from that time period. I can't understate how good all of these performances are. The story is where this will divide a lot of people. I think no matter what your overall thoughts on the movie are, I think it will be hard to disagree about the quality of both the performances and the technical achievements. The story, though, is something people will find very polarizing. This isn't your typical biopic. It doesn't even try to be a mainstream film, actually. As gritty as some of the subject matter is that Fincher has covered in other films, this will be the most against the grain of all his movies. Because while all these performances are fantastic, the film doesn't try to do much to convince you to really root for any of these characters. While most of them have arcs, it rarely felt like the film was placing much of an emphasis on said arcs. They're by no means totally void of emotion or personality, but it definitely felt like the film was keeping the audience at arm's length as far as that connection with these characters go. This is instead a very, very dialogue-driven film that focuses intently on both the political climate of the 1930s and 40s, as well as the film industry itself. And it assumes you know who all these people of this time period are. Now, I really love classic cinema. A number of films from the 30s, 40s, and 50s are some of my favorite movies of all time. I really wish I spoke about them more on this channel. So, I knew a lot of the names being dropped here, and I got most of the references to classic stars and directors, as well as prominent politicians and events of that time period. Obviously, not everyone will, and if you don't even have a bare bones understanding of that time period, you will be lost, because for as much as this film relies on dialogue, it will not explain much to you as far as who's who. Now, there are a fair amount of scenes I found to be legitimately entertaining because of the performances and because of some of the cool technical achievements, but there are even more scenes of characters sitting around, whether it be on a set, in an office meeting, at a dinner party, and they'll just comment on everything going on at the time. There's a very heated election taking place throughout all this, and Hollywood dealt a lot with making propaganda films at that time. And since during this time period, the film industry was controlled heavily by the studios rather than the filmmakers themselves, we get a lot of scenes of executives and studio heads debating what films to make, what will influence this election, or what will have these big ramifications. And if you have no idea who the the people these studio executives are referring to, this will all go right over your head. And the thing is, even if you do know who they're talking about, while it will enhance your experience and you'll be able to follow everything, it won't allow you to form more of an emotional connection with these characters. You'll certainly appreciate the film more, but all these references don't necessarily fuel the characters' arcs. You don't start to care more for Louis B. Mayer, for example, because you understand who he's referring to when he's talking about which films to green light and which films to reject. You understand what he's talking about, but you don't form more of a connection with him because of it. And the same goes if you have any understanding of Citizen Kane itself. Since this is obviously about the making of the film, there are a slew of references to scenes and moments within that movie. And it's great if you have an understanding of Citizen Kane walking into this. It'll definitely help you keep up with it. Like, I've seen Citizen Kane a couple of times. I got some of the references they were making, but while it enhanced my experience as far as keeping up with what certain characters were talking about, I didn't suddenly start to care for these characters more because of what I knew going into it. So this will be a very interesting film, because I didn't dislike it. I don't think it's bad by any means. I don't even think it's just okay. It is a good movie, but it's a film that I respect more than I enjoy. I think there's a lot to take in here as far as understanding the craft of filmmaking, because it definitely shows the love for the art of filmmaking. And as someone who absolutely loves films and grew up watching countless movies, I certainly appreciate it and really respect Fincher's technique here. But it's nothing I'd immediately find myself wanting to rewatch, because while there's a love for film clearly in here, it's also a film that didn't grab me as much emotionally. Your connection will be more to the technique than to the characters. This isn't one of my favorite David Fincher movies, but it's certainly a very well-crafted film, and shows his skills as a filmmaker. The fact that he managed to masterfully recreate the look and feel of a 1930s film is just phenomenal, and the film has plenty of great performances to go along with it, with Gary Oldman, Amanda Seyfried, and Charles Dance all being mesmerizing. Emotionally though, there's not much there. This is a film that's best suited for those who have an understanding of film from the golden age of Hollywood, as well as the political climate of the 30s and 40s. And even then, it'll just help you understand it more than actually being attached emotionally. If you don't understand any of it, this definitely won't be for you. And while I'm going to give this a positive rating, just know it's most likely going to be a film you'll respect more than anything, especially if you love the art of filmmaking. And you also need to understand what that time period was like before watching. Mank gets a 7.5 out of 10. I'm sure this is going to get a ton of awards. Movies about Hollywood itself tend to do really well during award season. Now, I think it should flat out win anything as far as the technical achievements go, like best sound, best cinematography, and so on, because it was phenomenal as far as that goes. Do I think it should win Best Picture? Unfortunately, no, but I wouldn't be surprised if it were to win there. We'll see though. But let me know, did you see Mank, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you like the technical aspects? Did you understand the story? And what's your favorite movie from the 1930s and 40s, if you have one? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll catch you next time.